Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Basement Card Collector. Today's video is going to be a video response, as you can see here, for our buddy the Drew over at the Drew, a Vintage Legacy. And for Drew, I have a little connection to Drew. In my first subscriber contest, my 100 subscriber contest, the Drew and Lou Rock of Lou Rock TV were the first people to win my contest, and so I actually have sent things to Drew. I was super excited to do that, and so I was super excited to see that he's crossed the 200. I think he's at 240 something as I just checked. So congrats, Drew. I will leave a link to his description. He is celebrating 200 subs, and he's asking for a VR to talk about players that were great all-timers but didn't win the World Series. And so what I have in front of you are three, we'll call them honorable mention, three great players, three Hall of Famers, Andre Dawson, Ernie Banks, and Ryne Sandberg. And so for those two on the right, Hall of Famers and never did get a World Series ring. And actually Andre Dawson, after he retired from the Marlins, he actually took an office position, him and Tony Perez both. They actually were given rings in the 2003 after they won their second World Series, those Florida Marlins. So he actually did pick one up, just not during his playing days. But so anyway, he does have one, but I'm sure he would have loved to be like the man in right field, hitting third or fourth with 30 homers and 100 ribbies, but it just didn't work that way for him. And so I have three players. I have two Hall of Famers and one non-Hall of Famer. Those were part of the rules for the VR. And we're going to go first with the two Hall of Famers and do the non-Hall of Famer in the third spot. Number one player, Hall of Famer. Really, in my mind, one of the top 5 catchers, if not higher up. Over 400 home runs, over 1,300 ribbies. He was a Silver Slugger like 10 times. He is a Hall of Famer. He did play in a World Series with the Mets, and it was in that Subway Series featuring the Mets and the Yankees. And oh yeah, by the way, this all-time great was drafted in the 62nd round, Mr. Mike Piazza. And that is just a classic photo. I love the catchers with the shell and the mask, kind of compared to the hockey mask version. But look at the San Antonio Missions, Mike Piazza. And I chose this card for a couple reasons. The photo 1, the Sweet Fu Manchu 2. But check out the 62nd round, 1988 June draft, Mr. Mike Piazza. And so the story goes, his father was a friend of Tommy Lasorda, so we kind of threw him a bone and said, fine, we'll take him. There you go, 62nd round, we'll see what happens. Well, all he did from there on out was to become Rookie of the Year, 400 home runs, a 308 lifetime hitter as a catcher. I mean, that's getting it done no matter what position, and he's doing it at the catching position. So my first player in the Hall of Fame that did not win a ring, and I chose that card, and I chose this sweet 92 Bowman. It's just a really cool card, and again, it mentions this is just about him becoming Rookie of the Year, and he's my first player, Mike Piazza. Player number 2, also in the Hall of Fame. He also has a list a mile long of accolades and records. He's a 8-time batting champion. Played for his career for one team, which is really cool. I love that. His rookie year is also in the 1983 set with Mr. Rhino back there. This guy is probably Mr. Padre, if there is such a thing. Him, Trevor Hoffman, just lifetime. Basically lifetime for Hoffman, but Mr. Tony Gwynn. Love this 84 Fleer, 3000 hit club, and the man just wrote the book on video batting analysis and just like studying film in the off season, studying film during the games, I think I've heard. He also is credited, I've heard someone say it on a baseball game, on the 5.5 hole, or the 5.5 hole, 5.5 hole. He was just known for hitting that ground ball between the third baseman and the shortstop. The guy was just a machine. He was a professor at batting, and I love these old unis. Love the old logo. So I picked two pretty cool Tony Gwynn cards, an old school one that doesn't get shown much, and a really cool, it's called Hall Bound. How cool is that, with a picture of Cooperstown in the back, a little bit of cutout at there at the top. Just a great looking card. Tony Gwynn, super good. He did make it to a World Series, I want to say in the late 90s with the Padres, and I think they ran into maybe the Yankees. I want to say the Yankees might have beaten them. Either way, he did play in one, maybe even two. Yeah, I think he might have played in 2 World Series, but he didn't get the ring. So Tony Gwynn is my second player without a ring, but in the all-time classic club. What a great hitter. What a great hitter. My third player in the VR for the Drew is my non-Hall of Fame player, and I really feel bad for these two players, and many other players, of course, that never won that ring. But how about this guy? He goes on to be a player of the 80s. He was a superstar, an MVP, a captain, a team leader. He played for one team the whole time through. He had the sweetest hair I can, and sideburns and mustache. He played first base, which I loved. Not a big Yankees guy, but I really just wish for Don Mattingly. I just love this card. This just looks like a baseball player. That mustache alone. This is an 85 Donruss. Again, he's just starting to light things up. Look at that, 343, 207 hits, 100 ribbies. It's like, man, this guy probably, player of the 80s. So I picked this other card, which is, says so right there. 10th anniversary player of the decade. I mean, the guy could field, he could hit, he was a leader, he was tough, hit you some doubles, scoop a ball out of the dirt. But Don Mattingly played for those Yankees, and really in terms of Yankees, as far as Yankees go, I just feel bad for him for about 2 reasons. If he could have hung on, you're thinking, so what's the big deal with this 96 score? Well, that year, I think would go on to be his last with the team, 1995. There has pretty much his career totals there, I believe. And so a guy by the name of Derek Jeter would come along in that 96 season, and I think we all know the Derek Jeter story. He would go on to win 5 rings. I just wish for Donnie Baseball here, for Mr. Mattingly, he could have stuck around for 1 year, and I'm sure he does too. But imagine going through all those games for the Yankees, 1,700 games, 2,000 hits, look at those ribbies, 1,000 ribs, 307, a defensive master, and the year that he calls it quits, that they get this young shortstop, Mr. Derek Jeter, and the rest is history, I guess. So Don Mattingly, out of the 3 players that I mentioned here, just kind of feel a little bit extra for him and what happened to him basically right after he called it quits. So that'll do it. That'll do it for my VR for the Drew. Please check his channel out. You probably already do. He's great at storytelling, has an awesome collection, got a really cool cabinet that he built. He just seems like a really cool dude that just lives on the other side of the country as I. So thank you, Drew. Congrats. The 200, you'll be at 300 before you know it. Cool VR. I'll leave the link and some description to his channel below, but go check it out. Thank you, Drew. And that concludes this VR. We'll see you next time.